Hi, my name is Richard, and I am the collections manager at the Manitoba Indigenous Cultural Education Center. And these videos are an installment in the larger Conservation Cafe project that we've been running at the center. I've invited Amanda over to help walk you through some of the ideas and recommendations and concerns based on certain materials that you might find around your home or in your community.
So hi, my name is Amanda McLeod. I'm a member of Saugeen Anishinaabe Nation, and my background is in conservation and curating. So I did train as a conservator in an institution, and so my training is my practice is trying to figure out how to find that balance between the training I received and how to properly and respectfully care for materials found. Like Indigenous materials and such. So the big thing is museums are focused on keeping things unchanged, but when we have the stuff in community, a lot of the times it's for use and in relationship. So I want to talk about ways to care for the stuff using materials that you could find in your home.
Great. And so what is the item in front of us?
So this one, this is something that MICEC had hanging on the wall up by the library. And so it's a composite object, so it's a bunch of different materials. But what we're actually going to focus on for this is the feathers and how to care for those. And so a big thing with feathers when you're caring for them in museums that's interesting is that a big thing is like don't use water. Don't introduce any sort of humidity or liquid at all. As much or as minimal as possible, but a big thing in communities, you wash them.
Sure.
You use steam to reshape feathers. Obviously, when we collect feathers, we are going to wash them before we do use them. And so using just warm water and a mild detergent like Dawn is completely acceptable to clean feathers. Obviously, you just want to handle them as carefully as you possibly can. And to blot them dry, or blot them as much as you can, let them air dry. Big thing is to make sure that they're completely dried. And then if they're still dirty, do another bath as necessary. If they're kind of bent or anything, you just, you can have a pot of water, or you can have a kettle of water, and you just boil it and you use the steam very carefully because you don't want to burn yourself. And you just run the feather through the steam, and it helps you kind of to reshape the feather as needed. And again, you just put it on like a cotton towel or pillowcase or t-shirt. Cotton is really good, quite absorbent and a pretty stable material to introduce to other things, and just let it completely dry. If you need to, this feather is actually a really good example. So while it's kind of like once you've steamed the feather, you can actually really carefully reattach the barbs within a feather as necessary if you want to get rid of the gaps. So up here on this feather, it's actually possible because here the barbs are just kind of pulled away a little bit. But here is an example where unfortunately that's not possible because there's actually bits that are missing. So those gaps will always be there. But it all depends also on how fragile the feather is that you're using. That should determine how carefully you handle it while you're cleaning, or if you decide if you're going to clean. If it's super fragile, I would kind of be very careful in terms of giving it a bath. It might be better just to kind of do a little bit more spot cleaning.
Okay.
And a big thing too that is used in conservation, which is a lot of people don't realize, is saliva.
Mm-hmm.
So saliva is actually it's quite good. It's really good for cleaning. So you think about when you were a kid, when it's lick the thumb and clean your face.
Yep.
It actually worked really well. So in conservation, it is used a lot with usually with cotton swabs or Q-tips and stuff like that. So it's good for a spot cleaning because it breaks down fatty materials and starches and dirt. So if you have a really fragile feather, you could use saliva, or you could also use water still, and a little bit of soap to do some spot cleaning on it, but to again just be really careful when you're handling them. And then I guess for storage, a big thing, like I mentioned, cotton is really good. So if you put them in a box, probably best not to just put them in the box by themselves, because boxes are often made of just plain cardboard, and cardboard does it's quite acidic, and so it can affect things like feathers over the long term. So if you're putting just a single feather or a bundle of feathers, it'd be good to line the box in something like a cotton t-shirt or a cotton pillowcase. Right. And don't put it in plastic bags, because that can kind of facilitate mold. Mold can grow and stuff like that. Don't squish them together, because then you'll just actually cause more damage. So just carefully lay them out as much as possible.
A few questions on my end. Mm-hmm. When you're drying them, is there a preference to laying them flat or letting them hang?
It's totally fine to lay them flat. Some people actually are happy to also use hair dryers.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But if you're going to use a hair dryer, just be really careful on the settings. So you don't want it to be too hot, and you also don't want it to be too high.
Oh yeah.
So you could use the lower setting on a hair dryer, and just kind of have it a bit more cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then.
And actually, when it's on the cotton, it actually also absorbs.
Sure.
A bit more of the water. So.
Okay. And then when you're using some saliva as a bit of a clean, would you want to then rinse the saliva off after fully, or does it matter as much?
You could. One thing that actually comes up as well in terms of cleaning. So when we use saliva and we talk about using water. When you use tap water, you are also kind of subjecting whatever it is you're washing to the minerals that are found in water. And sometimes there's also other chemicals. So you have the other chemicals and stuff like that. And so in a museum setting, they would be using deionized water to do that cleaning, but you can actually use distilled water if you wanted to. And that's actually, you can pick that up at most grocery stores. And so if you're going to do saliva cleaning, maybe actually do a little bit of, rinsing with distilled water, because you're not using soap and water. So if you're using soap and water, soap and tap water, it's not such a big deal.
Okay.
But if you're going to use saliva, then do a bit of rinse with distilled water if possible.
Okay. I think that's it on my end. That was just sort of a few little things I wanted a quick note on. And the big thing is to just make sure that they're still usable within community. Like, they're not meant to be, the way we're talking about caring for them is to have them be used and also have them be interacted with. So not be put in display cases. Yeah, you want good condition, but you want it in usable condition, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And I guess the one other thing to that is, when you're storing it, would you prefer it to be on the drier side or on the more humid side?
Well, when we talk about the storage conditions, when you're talking about them in museums, you're obviously thinking about like temperature and humidity levels and stuff like that. With feathers, I would basically say don't try to avoid putting them in attics or in basements.
Perfect.
It's like in your living environment is the best environment for your feathers.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. That certainly gave me a lot of information. Hopefully that helps someone else out there as well. And there will be more videos. So hopefully this was helpful, and on to the next one.
Sounds good. Thanks.